Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Partnership for Profits. Happy Monday, everybody. My name is Will Brooks. I'm the host of the show here, and we have an awesome guest today. We are joined by Patricia Rodriguez, who is an attorney and the founder of the Rodriguez Law Group in California. Patricia is a powerful advocate for turning life struggles into strengths. She's built her career fighting for clients facing personal injury cases, family cases, and I'm sure other things as well that we will get into. Patricia, I'm really glad to have you on the show. Thank you so much for giving us some time today. How are you doing?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm doing wonderful. It's a happy manic Monday as usual. So I'm ready to get into the meat of things. I just returned from federal court downtown, and that's kind of nerve-wracking, but it went smoothly. So I'm always grateful for that.
Good deal. Yeah, it is kind of a manic Monday. I was apologizing to Patricia before we got started because I was in the wrong studio waiting for this podcast to start. And I was like, where's Patricia? And then she's in the right studio going, where's this guy I'm supposed to do this podcast with? So I do appreciate you being patient with me and giving me that grace today. Patricia, tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice and how you help people out.
Well, absolutely. I've been practicing for 15 years. My claim to fame, I started with real estate foreclosure defense work. I sued Chase, B of A, Wells Fargo, Deutsche Bank, all the major banks after the '08 crash, and really was a modern day Robin Hood. But that was a very taxing area, a very rewarding area. But I have since shifted to a little bit more manageable place, if you can believe it, into family law. Where I'm helping families dissolve their relationships but keep their sanity. I also do a lot of personal injury work, both on the plaintiff side when people get injured, as well as the defense side when they maybe have injured somebody and still require some type of assistance.
Cool. So that's kind of a shift from real estate foreclosure stuff to what you're doing now. What drew you into doing? I get why you moved. It sounds like it was moved practice areas because it sounds like it was just maybe stressful. I don't know, but like, why family and personal injury? Why did you decide to go into those two areas of law?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what helped me to make the transition was the pandemic. The pandemic was a big shift for my firm because overnight foreclosure stopped. Eviction stopped in California, and that went on for some years. So it was either pivot, like everybody called it, and make a change and do something different, or there just wasn't much of a practice left. I initially started in family law and criminal defense, and the family law really took off, and I really found a calling in it, and I really enjoy it. And the clients are kind of fun and easy to work with, even though they're dealing with loss of their spouse or loss of their children. It's kind of a manageable place, and I help deal with their emotions. Also, there's a lot of restraining order requests, and there's a lot of anger out there in the world. So there's plenty of practice there and plenty of assistance there. What drew me into personal injury, in all honesty, was a lot of my colleagues do a lot of personal injury, and they find it really rewarding. And there is a lot of profit to be made there. But also, there are a lot of people that you can help that are really, in desperate need of help, especially on the civil defense side. I get a lot of clients that have called 10 or 15 different law firms, and they've all said, we don't represent your side, we only represent the other side. And so this was a place where I could find a niche and really be able to help people that couldn't find help other places. And I specifically focus in on people who, for whatever dumb, crazy, stupid reason, don't have insurance coverage. So I don't work for insurance companies. I still work for the little people. Being my background, I was homeless until I was 7. My mom was addicted to drugs until I was 13. My father was absent. So I really am about the people. I've lived my whole life really set to change the world and to change the dynamic of what the lower class, or not even lower class, I hate to use that term, but those that are disadvantaged when it comes to finances can really do. It's the other reason why I do my entire practice on a flat fee basis. We do a high volume of cases, but still give everybody a very unique individual experience. But I do it that way so that clients aren't left with a huge bill over an hourly rate. So I'm able to help more people. And my mentor in college really taught me that I might not be able to change the entire system. I might not be able to change the entire world, but I can be that one person in each individual life that I touched, in each individual case that I have, that really cares, that really matters to them. I could be that one person in the system that really puts all of their energy into their case and makes a difference to them.
I love that. So you mentioned flat fee. I get that for the family law side of things. Are you doing flat fee work for the civil and personal injury side too, or is it a contingency fee?
Well, it's contingency for all of the personal injury plaintiff side. That's all contingency work. And what that means is it means that I don't get paid unless I get you paid, right? My payment is contingent upon you getting something and you getting paid from the injury that you had. Yeah. On the civil defense side, generally that's going to be a flat fee like it is for the family law side.
Okay. So talk to me, because we work with a lot of personal injury lawyers. So I'm kind of familiar with that world, and we've worked with some family lawyers as well. Talk to me a little bit more about that civil litigation side of things. Like what would an example of a civil case be for someone who's not an attorney, where they can kind of understand, like, what's a scenario that's a civil case? Like, I think like OJ, right? Back in the day, he had his criminal trial, he was found not guilty. And then wasn't there a civil trial from his family, or from Nicole Brown's family after the fact, basically suing him for being
wrongful
responsible
death.
For,
right. Yeah. So usually when you're talking about personal injury side of things, somebody's been injured. You can think of slip and fall instances where like you're at an AMC theater and there's a rug that's up high and you slip on that rug, and now AMC needs to compensate you for the head injury that you have. Or you can think of like Walmart's got ketchup on the floor and you slip and fall. These are actual cases I have. Like these are things that have actually happened. Other ones are like dog bite cases where you've been bit by a dog or your kid's been bit by a dog. Other instances are like sexual harassment or sexual assault cases, especially like those are more intentional tort cases where there's some intent behind it versus just like negligence. Oop, that was an accident. Other one are like catastrophic ones, a car accident or a truck accident or a motorcycle accident where somebody has either lost a limb or they've got traumatic brain injury. These are all different types of personal injury cases. The slip and falls that I was discussing, that's considered like premise liability, where something has happened. Oh, and you can also think of like bar fights where you're at a bar and somebody beats up somebody else, but security should have intervened and done something about it. And maybe instead security was like taking pictures and laughing about it. That's definitely like the bar is going to be on the hook for their security guards not
protecting you. Yeah, not following through. So, but what I'm more curious about the civil side of things though. Where does what's the civil case? What do those look like typically? What is an example of a civil case? Or are personal injury cases considered civil cases?
Yeah. Personal injury cases are considered civil cases. You really only have two distinct either criminal cases or civil cases. And then within civil cases, there's a whole gamut of things. So like real estate cases would be considered a civil case. Personal injury cases would be considered a civil case.
Yeah.
So it's really a big, broad umbrella over. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for educating me. I guess I had a different in my mind. It was a civil case is basically, am I wrong? Is it just anytime you're suing someone, that's typically a civil case, right?
Right.
Okay.
So you could have like a breach of contract case where you're suing somebody because you had loaned them money and they're not paying you back. And that would be considered a civil case, but not considered a personal injury case because there's no actual physical injury. It's just a breach of contract. And then civil's broken down into three different kinds of civil suits. You have things that are, at least in California, under $12,500, and that's going to be a small claims case. Anything over $12,500 but below $35,000 is going to be a limited civil case, and anything over $35,000 is going to be an unlimited civil case, meaning the amount that could be awarded and is sought is unlimited. Okay,
so I know you work kind of on both sides of the I don't know, it's not the aisle, but of the case of the courtroom. So when you're working with defendants, you said it's not insurance companies, it's like uninsured motorists. Kind of, would that be an example of who you'd be representing?
Yeah, absolutely. It could be an uninsured motorist, or it could be somebody that got sued perhaps for like sexual assault, and that's an intentional tort. And so their homeowner's insurance excludes anything intentional. They only cover like negligence.
Right.
And so that might be somebody who requires a personal
Okay.
attorney.
And so that's where your flat fee comes in for those folks that are on the defendant side of a civil case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. It's fascinating to me because, like I said, we work with a lot of PI lawyers, but they exclusively work for plaintiffs. They don't. I never get to talk to anyone, because I talk to a lot of lawyers. I never get to talk to an attorney who's kind of representing defendants. Because when I think of PI defense, I'm thinking like, oh, it's you're working with Progressive or you're working with State Farm.
Right.
But I guess there's a whole different
There's a
side
whole
to that.
little world in there.
Yeah.
Because like even now in California, a lot of the insurance companies have exited or they've super limited. Another one you can think of is like plaintiff has sued a defendant for habitability issues or for some type of, issues in a wrongful eviction. And there's a bunch of exclusions in their insurance where their insurance is just not going to cover it. And so those people still, like, maybe they own a house, they want to protect their house, maybe they have money in the bank, they need to protect that money, so they still require some type of defense. And what's really fascinating is my experience on the defense side, I think, makes me a better plaintiff's attorney because I know all the tricks and trades, everything that the defense and even defense counsel that's hired by the insurance company, they're going to use the same tactics that I'm using for the individual. And so I know how to get around those and deal with them. And I think what really sets my firm apart is that my partner of 11 years, my significant other, he's a claims adjuster, and he was a claims adjuster for 30 years. And so he's able to give me just tons of insight.
Yeah.
Get a personal injury case, even just on the potential client side, all the way through the litigation is what would you, how would you adjust this claim? Like what amount of money would you pay if you were on the insurance side? What's the value of this case? So it's a great asset. And I think really kind of sets me apart, and it helps me have an amazing personal injury practice.
You got the inside track. That's very cool.
I do. He used to work for Sedgwick. He's worked for Charles Taylor, like all the big, insurance broker firms.
That's great. Let's backtrack a little bit to something you said earlier. You were talking a little bit about your upbringing, and it sounds like it was not an easy upbringing as a child. I want to know how much of an impact or that your childhood had on your decision to kind of go into law, and talk to me a little bit about that and that journey and what kind of led you into deciding this is what I want to do. I want to be an attorney.
It had everything to do with why I sit here today as an attorney, right? I was 7 and I was seeing literally the worst the world had to offer. I mean, the poverty breeds abuse, and there's just a lot of uncertainty, and it was very scary. But people were like, I was like, I want to change the world. I don't want any kid to ever have to live like this or go through any of this. And they're like, well, if you want to make a difference, if you want to change the world, you've got to be an attorney. And so I was like 7, and I was like, I would be an attorney with zero clue like what that meant or who that was or how that would be. But I had this undeniable, unwavering belief that I could change the world. And personally, like, I believe in God, and I think God just guided my path. And I was a kid in South Central, like 47th and Broadway, going to like West Carver Elementary, and I would rollerblade all the way to the school, and I would rollerblade onto USC college campus. And I was like 10, and I was like, I'm going to go here one day. Like, this is where I'm going to go. And then by the grace of God, my cousins took me in high school and gave me a very stable home, a middle class kind of experience. And I was able to go to high school there and graduate with honors. And then I got accepted. Initially I got rejected by USC, but I appealed their decision and I got in the spring semester. And so then I was able to live out that dream and go to USC, which was amazing. And then I traveled on to Temple Law School. But I've always held on to what my childhood provided me, because while it didn't provide me maybe all the security of other people's childhood, it provided me a real appreciation for every moment. So every moment, just sitting here having this podcast with you is like a special experience for me. Was the kids I grew up with, the people I went to school with, like they're either dead or in prison somewhere. Most of them did not make it out. So it's always like an incredible feeling to know that I made it out, that I've made it to some degree in my career, and that I'm able to just help a lot of people. And I had a lot of really inspirational people along the way. My college mock trial coach, he really helped me see the light and kind of get me to shift from this kind of in between space where I was kind of still of that environment, and then I was of this very professional environment. And he really helped me just shift into being a professional. And I've grown so much into this professional that I now am just grateful every day to share my story and to be positive about the fact that while it wasn't easy and there were a lot of moments that made me question things, it's possible. You can do it. You can keep going. You can find yourself through all of it. And I absolutely love the career I have now. And I love the team I have. I have about 155 cases. I have about 20 people that work for me. And my turnover rate is so low. People have been with me 10, 12, 13 years,
That's awesome.
5, 6 years, because it's like a family. Like, we really are connected on a deeper level with the work that we do.
I love it. I love that. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like if you appealed your acceptance to USC before you even went to law school, because that's undergrad, right? You were ready. You were like, all right, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'll go ahead and start now. I'm going to tell you why you should have let me in when you didn't.
Right.
That's awesome. Like, first victory was right there. That's very, very cool. Tell me a little bit, because like you've practiced in a lot of different areas of law, and seen a lot of different stuff. People have a preconceived notion about what lawyers are like, and the courtroom. They think about a courtroom drama, and that's kind of where their head goes. What's the unseen side of being a lawyer that nobody knows or talks about?
Well, I definitely say the long nights. Like, it's not all glamorous. You're not in court every day. Most days I'm at home in front of my computer for hours on end, reading and writing. It's a lot of reading and writing. I mean, it's so much reading and writing that I don't do any type of leisure reading. My brain's just like, thanks, but no thanks. I might listen to some audibles, but the idea of reading more after I've read so much for the practice is definitely not exciting for me. I think some of the other parts that people don't see is like, I remember like in the earlier days, I mean, I did everything myself, like from the copying to the printing to everything. And it was constantly being on 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And I remember like taking a dinner break and like really wanting to eat something and have a break. And my tech guy, this was back when way pre-COVID, and we were still printing everything. So we had big printers and lots of paper going. Now it's all virtual. I don't deal with paper anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But back then I totally did. And so it's lunch. I mean, it's dinner and I'm ready to eat. And I've got this call coming in from my printer guy. And that's the part nobody tells you about, is how you're going to learn everything. You're going to do a little bit of everything, because I think the part that you learn in college and law school is how to be a lawyer, but they're not teaching you how to run a business.
100%. I've heard that so many times.
Thankfully for me, I went to business school at undergrad at USC. So I had a lot more experience and a lot more knowledge. And even with all of that, once I started practicing and once I had my own business, it still felt like I was learning on the go. And because it's just never going to be the same as when you're reading it in a book, when you're learning how to actually trial and error do it. But there's so much that other lawyers tell me about, that they just, the marketing and advertising of things. Like that was my concentration in business school. So that's like my second love. If I didn't have a law practice, I would probably have a marketing company. And so I'm able to do a lot of things that my colleagues are just like, this is not my area. Like, I don't understand it. This isn't what I do. But I definitely try to practice in the business as much as I practice on the business. So I would definitely say the unglamorous side that people don't talk about is all the little detailed things like printers or like hiring people. Super fun. Firing people, not so much.
No. Not no one. If you enjoy doing that to people, then yeah, there's a special place where you're going to wind up, I think. That's great. I love that. I've heard that from a lot of other attorneys as well. As like, yeah, I was not prepared to run a business. I was just thinking, I'm going to practice law, and I'm going to try cases, I'm going to help people. But then there's that whole other side that nobody ever talks about. So you got your business degree, and you said you got some marketing sprinkled in there. What do you do in your firm for marketing wise? Like, what are you guys doing to get the word out about what you guys are doing? Because it is a very, especially I'm very curious about the representing the defendant side of things, because I think that's like I said, it's not talked about. I don't hear other attorneys talking about that they do that. So what are you doing for your marketing to kind of get the word out about your practice?
So, pre-COVID, I had the foreclosure defense practice, and there just wasn't a lot of attorneys doing that. And there was a huge volume of people when I came in 2011 that really required that assistance. So for many years, I didn't have to really market or do any advertising. I just had word of mouth, and I did some speaking engagements for some things. But I mean, then some things changed in my practice. And then I had a couple bad reviews online that, again, I hadn't really noticed until I wasn't doing foreclosure defense at work anymore. And now I was doing family law and I was doing personal injury, both on plaintiff and defense side. And so I, during the COVID time, took that downtime when we weren't in court. I didn't have as big of a caseload. And I went on a webinar sprint. And I literally just listened and just went on every single webinar I could, learned everything I could about how people were marketing and advertising. And I got into Google local services ads when it was still in the beta testing stage, which was just a game changer for my practice. And even now, still, I get most of my civil defense work from Google local services ads, which is not the same as Google ads. GSL is very different. And I have put a lot of people on it. I talk about it freely, and people are like, aren't you afraid of competition? And it's like, that's just not my mindset. I have a very abundant mindset.
That's great.
I mean, there's only so many people I can help, and there's hundreds of thousands of people. There's 10 million people in LA County alone, and I only want a couple hundred clients, right? So the probability that I'm going to not get that because one other attorney came in and is doing it, or 5 other attorneys, it's just not real. And I also look at it like someone's going to come into the market, whether it's somebody I've helped or it's some random stranger. So I'd much rather it be somebody that I've helped to get there, that feels some allegiance to me and wants to return that assistance and help. The other way is attorney referrals. I network as much as I can online. I network as much as I can in conferences and mixers. And I really build a lot of relationships with a lot of other attorneys and non-attorneys, but especially attorneys, because we can give each other referral fees. So those are all great ways. I also, have all of the social medias. I have a pin interest. Like for Rodriguez Law Group. I mean, that's how
you have a Pinterest for your law firm? That's cool.
Law firm. In addition to LinkedIn and Facebook. And I have a couple of Facebook groups that I run, and I have a couple of Facebook pages, like business pages that I run. I have an Instagram. I have, all the social medias. And what's really important for those is that you optimize them. People don't really realize that there's a lot of optimization that can happen with them, meaning that, on Instagram, all my other social medias are posted on there and linked to there. On Facebook, all of my other social medias are posted and linked to there. I have a Google profile, and I do have a company that I work with that runs some SEOs. But I think the hardest part for people, especially if this isn't like your passion or your area that you look into and talk to people about, is it's overwhelming. There are so many companies out there that are just, I get daily solicitations, at least 5-10 a day that are like, hey, I can get you PI leads, and hey, and you have to be careful because you'll blow through thousands of dollars in cash so very quickly if you get with the wrong company. So I always say, shout out to Epidemic, who's in Texas. They're a great company, great SEO company, but use a referral. Like, get somebody who's already using somebody who's had great success with them, and try to kind of bite off of what they're doing. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, but it is a lot of trial and error. I've done it all. I've done radio ads. I've done newspapers. Those are very, indirect marketing. Most of the people hearing your ad, most of the people seeing that newspaper aren't your target market. So definitely targeted advertisement is where it's at. That's why I love Google local services ads. And now just recently, we kind of tweaked our Smith AI who answers our phone calls, and we've got them screening out anybody who can't afford the $5,000 to start. And that's really helped us like hone in on the people that we can really help versus just giving out a ton of free legal advice to people who ultimately can't afford us and we're not a good fit for them.
Right. That's great. You're on top of things. I love that. I love to hear it. Very cool. I love that you've been using the Google service ads for so long. That's you were let's not say you were in the early days of that. So that's very, very cool. Love your story. Patricia, it's very inspiring that you kind of pulled yourself up and got where you are today with some great success. That's always an inspiring story for me to hear, and I know it's inspiring for the folks who are watching and listening as well. So for those folks that are listening or watching, or anybody that feels overwhelmed by life or by legal hurdles or whatever it might be, give me Patricia Rodriguez's most practical, simple, life-changing advice that someone can put into play today, right now. Like I said, you seem like a very inspiring person, so I bet you have a really good nugget for me.
YouTube, okay. Hypnotherapy for whatever ails you.
YouTube hypnotherapy?
I do hypnotherapy. I have a hypnotherapist that I go to, but that can cost money, and maybe you can't afford that. But everybody has a phone. Right? Everybody has a phone. You have access to YouTube. You can go on there for hypnotherapy for anxiety, hypnotherapy for depression, hypnotherapy for toxic relationships, like literally whatever ails you. Hypnotherapy to quit smoking. And it works. It really works. It gets to your subconscious. It rewires you in a way that allows you to deal with whatever trauma you might have experienced. And, I mean, the trauma in my life at a young age is just so much that it's like,
right.
But I have managed a way to really deal with it and really cope with it, and not drink it away, not smoke it away, not, have a sexual relationships away, like to really get to where the energy is kept. And so, yeah, I super encourage hypnotherapy. I also listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks. She's a motivational speaker, and she talks about the vortex and just, the biggest thing is to honor yourself and to really appreciate your emotions, and don't go to the darkest place. Don't go to the worst place and think, oh, I'm going to make this the brightest place in the world. No, keep yourself from that darkness and come to the light, like the lightest place you can be. A lot of people say, oh, there's so much bad happening in the world. Well, yeah, if you tune your frequency to that, and if you look for the bad, you can absolutely find it. But I prefer to look for the good and focus on the good. And if my dominant frequency is one of positivity, then everything else around me will just always seem like it's positive. And it is, because that's the reality I've created for myself. The last nugget I have is I am healthier in my imagination than I am in my observation. So try to stay in your imagination. Your imagination is where the most beautiful things are created. Even if what you're observing around you is something that has you feeling bad, that's just that momentary observation. It's not your real life experience, unless you want it to be. But if you want it to be something more positive, then stay in that imagination where worlds can be created, where, I think that's how I ended up where I am today, is that my imagination was always greater than my observation.
That's amazing. I love that. All that is really good stuff. You said Abraham Hicks?
Yes.
It's
Abraham Hicks. It's a woman. Her name is Esther Hicks, but in the vortex, that's Abraham Hicks.
Like Abraham Lincoln. That's spelled like that. Okay, cool. I wrote their name down, so I'm going to check it out.
She is absolutely amazing. I've gotten so many great teachings from her. And once you go on YouTube and you type in like hypnotherapy for whatever it is that you got you there, it'll take you into a rabbit hole.
I bet.
And like you can do hypnotherapy for abundance and hypnotherapy for money, and it will just loosen you up in ways where you can start to attract that money to you, and you can really start to see it flowing, and it just becomes part of your existence. At first, it'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened. And then it'll become so common for you that you'll be like, oh yeah, of course that happened. Like I would expect that. I would expect even bigger and greater things that I can't even imagine. But then I imagine them.
That's awesome. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna see if I can do some hypnotherapy tonight. I'll check out some videos. Patricia, this has been such a fun conversation. I really appreciate you giving me some time today. Let people know out there who are watching or listening how they can get in touch with you and get in touch with your firm.
Absolutely. So you can find us on the web at www.attorneyprod.com. That's attorney spelled out and PROD.com. You can also reach us by phone at 626-888-5206. You can find us on all the social medias as Attorney Prod or Attorney_Prod. And that stands for PROD.
Awesome. I love it. If you are do you work with people outside of the Southern California area, or are you just doing cases in Southern California?
Yeah, anywhere in California. I am only located practicing in California. Predominantly, we help those in Los Angeles and Orange County and the surrounding counties, but I do have cases in San Francisco. I have some cases down in San Diego. So we go wherever the people require us.
Got it. If you are in need of help in California, you need to hit up P-Rod and get some help. She will take good care of you. You're a very inspiring person. I have loved the energy you brought to the podcast today, Patricia. Super fun speaking with you. Thank you again for joining me today. And those of you that are watching the live stream out there, we appreciate you guys checking out the live stream. If you're watching the recorded version of this after the fact on YouTube or listening on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, we do appreciate that as well. And we love when you leave a review or give us stars or thumbs or all those good things, and follow the show, because we've got more episodes coming. I have another episode in about 20 minutes, so I'll be back in about 20 minutes with another guest who hopefully will bring as much good stuff to the table as Patricia has. Patricia, thank you again so much. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm gonna try to get you back on again soon so we can continue and maybe get a little deeper into hypnotherapy. That would be fun to talk about. So appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys.
All right, take care, everyone.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.